Every time you open a shopping app on your phone and tap your way through a checkout, you are completing a transaction through a device whose default configuration exposes more information about you, your payment methods, your location, and your behavioral patterns than any previous generation of commerce has required from a buyer completing a purchase. The exposure is not a bug in the system. It is a feature of the system as it was designed by companies whose revenue models depend on knowing as much about you as possible. Designed with default settings that maximize data collection rather than minimize your risk, and designed with the specific knowledge that most people will never change those defaults, because most people do not know the defaults exist or why they matter. The setting you need to turn off before you shop on your phone again is not a single setting. It is a category of settings whose combined effect creates the vulnerability that makes mobile shopping significantly riskier than most people realize. And understanding why each setting matters is the difference between following instructions blindly and understanding your own device well enough to protect yourself going forward, as a PPS update, as operating systems change, and as the specific techniques that attackers use to exploit mobile shoppers evolve in response to the security measures that users and platforms adopt. Start with the most immediately actionable setting and work outward from there. On iPhone, open Settings and scroll to Safari. Within Safari, find Autofill and tap it. You will see 3 toggles. Use Contact Info, which fills in your name and address from your contacts card, NAM, ES, and passwords, which autofills login credentials, and Credit Cards, which stores and autofills your payment card information on checkout forms. The Credit Cards toggle is the one that requires immediate attention. Disable it now. The reason is specific and documented. A category of attack called form jacking, in which malicious code is injected into the checkout pages of legitimate retail websites, captures the information that autofill enters into payment forms before that information is encrypted and transmitted to the retailer's payment processor. The injection does not affect the legitimate transaction. Your order goes through, your confirmation arrives, the retailer systems process your payment normally. The injection runs in parallel, silently, capturing why. Our card number, expiration date, security code, and billing address, and transmitting them to the attacker's infrastructure while the legitimate transaction completes exactly as expected. Autofill makes this attack more effective because it completes the payment form instantly and completely, giving the injection code a clean, complete data set to capture without requiring the attacker to reassemble partially typed information or wait for form submission. On Android, the equivalent setting is in Chrome's Settings menu. Open Chrome, tap the 3-dot menu in the upper right corner, tap Settings, and then tap Payment Methods. Disable Save and Fill L payment methods. This prevents Chrome from storing your payment card information and from autofilling it into checkout forms. Samsung devices have an additional layer to check. Samsung Pass, the biometric credential management and system that Samsung bundles with Galaxy devices, has its own payment autofill capability separate from Chrome's. Open Samsung Pass from your settings or from the Samsung folder in your app drawer, find the settings within Samsung Pass, and disable the autofill of payment information there as well. The clipboard vulnerability is the second setting category to address, and it is one that most people have never considered as a security issue because the clipboard feels like a private space. Content you copy and paste within your own device, moving information between applications you control. The clipboard on both iOS and Android is accessible to applications running on your device, and the history of documented clipboard access by applications that had no legitimate need for it is long and specific. When you copy a credit card number to paste it from your banking app into a checkout form, that number remains on your clipboard until you copy something else. During that window, which might be seconds or it might be minutes, depending on how quickly you complete the transaction and how soon you copy something else, every application with clipboard access that is running in the background can read that number. On iPhone, the best available protection against clipboard abuse is behavioral rather than settings-based because iOS does not provide a user-accessible interface for comprehensively REST. Restricting clipboard access in the way that some Android versions do. Avoid copying sensitive financial information to the clipboard when possible. If you do copy a credit card number or account number immediately after pasting it, copy something innocuous, a word, a random character, to overwrite the sensitive content in the clipboard. The iOS privacy indicator that shows a notification when an app accesses your clipboard is a useful signal but not a comprehensive defense because it shows you that access happened after the fact rather than preventing the access. On Android, some manufacturers provide clipboard management tools that allow you to set automatic clearing of clipboard contents after a defined period. Samsung's clipboard management in One UI allows you to set the clipboard to clear AIT automatically. Find this in the clipboard settings accessible through the keyboard or through settings. Third-party clipboard management applications are available that provide automatic clearing across more Android versions and manufacturers. If your device and your comfort with third-party applications support it, an automatic clipboard clearing interval of 60 seconds or less substantially reduces the window during which copied financial information is accessible to background applications. The network environment in which you complete mobile shopping transactions is the third major vulnerability category, whose management requires a settings change and a behavioral change simultaneously. Public Wi-Fi networks, the networks in coffee shops, hotels, airports, shopping. In malls, restaurants, and other public spaces that your phone connects to automatically, if you have previously connected to networks in those locations and have automatic connection enabled, are environments where network-level attacks against mobile shoppers are straightforward to execute. The evil TW, an attack in which an attacker creates a Wi-Fi network with the same name as a legitimate network in the same location, is detectable only by users who examine the technical details of their network connection, rather than simply connecting to the network whose name they recognize. Your phone's automatic connection to known network names does not distinguish between the legitimate network you connected to previously and an attacker's network with the same name in the same location. When you complete a payment transaction on a network whose security you cannot verify, you are potentially transmitting financial information through a network that has been designed to capture it. Go to Settings, then Wi-Fi on iPhone, or Settings then Network and Internet, then Wi-Fi on Android, and disable Auto Join for public networks that you have previously connected to. The setting that controls auto joining is accessible per network on iPhone by tapping the information ICON next to the network name and toggling auto join off. On Android, the equivalent is in the network's saved network settings. For any future shopping transaction on your phone, verify that you are connected to your cellular data network rather than to a public Wi-Fi network before entering payment information. The cellular data you will use to complete the transaction is measured in kilobytes. The cost is negligible. The security improvement of completing financial transactions over a connection whose security you control rather than over a public network whose security you cannot verify is significant. The application permissions audit is where the vulnerability picture broadens from the specific transactions you conduct to the ongoing background data collection that makes your finance IAL information and your shopping behavior available to parties whose interests diverge significantly from yours. Applications that you have installed for shopping or for financial management have typically been granted permissions during installation that they request for their core function, but that also enable broader data collection than the core function requires. Location permission granted to a shopping app for the purpose of finding nearby stores also enables that app to build a location history that reveals your daily patterns, your frequent locations, and your movements. Information that the app's data broker partners purchase and that can be used for targeting that extends well beyond the shopping context in which you granted the permission. On iPhone, go to Settings, then Privacy and Security, and work through Location Services, Contacts, Microphone, and Camera. For each permission category, review which shopping and financial applications have been granted access and at what level. Location permission. For shopping A, PPS should be set to while using the app rather than always. There is no legitimate reason for a shopping application to access your location when you're not actively using it, and always location access enables the continuous background location collection that feeds behavioral profiling. Microphone permission for shopping apps should be scrutinized artfully. Several major retail applications have been documented accessing the microphone in circumstances where no user-initiated audio function was active, and microphone access for a shopping application that does not have a documented audio feature is a permission that should be revoked. On Android, the same audit is conducted through Settings, then Privacy, then Permission Manager. The privacy dashboard available on Android 12 and later shows you a timeline of which applications accessed sensitive permissions over the past 24 hours. Use this to identify shopping and financial applications that are accessing your location, a microphone, or camera in the background when you are not actively using them. The saved payment information that individual shopping applications store on your device or in their cloud systems is the fourth vulnerability category, and it operates independently of the browser autofill settings already addressed. Major retail applications, Amazon, Walmart, RT, Target, and dozens of others, offer to save your payment information for faster future checkout. Each application that saves your payment information is an additional location where that information must be secured and from which it can be exposed if the applications see. Security is compromised. The history of major retail application security incidents includes multiple cases where saved payment information was exposed through application vulnerabilities, server breaches, and access control failures at the application developer level rather than at the device level. Review the payment methods saved in each shopping application on your device. For applications you use rarely, remove the save payment method and enter it manually when you make purchases. For applications you use frequently, the trade-off between the convenience of saved payment and the risk of exposure is a P. Arsenal judgment that should be informed by the application developer's security track record and by your own frequency of use. But the default should be to save payment information only in the applications you trust most and use most regularly, rather than accepting the offer to save payment information in every application that asks. Two-factor authentication is the layer of protection that makes the financial data exposed through any of these vulnerabilities substantially less useful to the people who capture it. When your credit card number is captured through form jacking or through a clipboard read or through a network interception, the attacker who captures it can attempt to use it for fraudulent purchases or can sell it to other fraudsters who will make those attempts. The card number alone, number, expiration, security code, billing address, is often sufficient for card. Not present fraud at merchants who do not implement additional authentication. Two-factor authentication does not protect against the capture of the card number. It protects against the use of the captured card number for account takeover, because even if an attacker captures your card number and uses it to attempt to access your card account and change your billing address or request a replacement card, the second authentication factor prevents them from completing the account manipulation that would make the captured card number most valuable. Enable two-factor authentication on every financial account that offers it. Every bank account, every credit card account, every payment service, including PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, and any others you use. Use an authenticator application rather than SMS-based two-factor, or authentication where the option is available. SMS-based second factors can be intercepted through SIM swapping attacks that have been used successfully against financial account holders. Authenticator applications generate codes locally on your device without transmitting anything through the cellular network and are not vulnerable to SIM swapping. The device lock settings deserve inclusion in this review because an unlocked device is a device on which every security measure at the application and network level is circumvented by physical access. Go to Settings, then Face ID and Passcode on iPhone or Settings, then Security, then Screen Lock on Android, and confirm that your device requires authentication to unlock and that the auto lock timeout is set to 60 seconds or less. A device that locks immediately when the screen turns off and that requires biometric or passcode authentication to unlock provides basic but essential protection when against the scenario where a lost or stolen device is used to complete shopping transactions through saved payment information and saved login credentials before you have the opportunity to remotely lock or wipe the device. The combination of these changes, autofill disabled for payment cards, clipboard managed to minimize sensitive content persistence, network connection verified before transactions, permissions audited and restricted, save payment information limited to most used trusted applications, two-factor authentication enabled, device lock configured, does not make mobile shopping perfectly secure. No configuration of any connected device achieves that. What it does is remove the specific vulnerability, that make mobile shopping with default settings a significantly higher risk activity than it needs to be, and close the gaps that the most common and most scalable attacks against mobile shoppers currently exploit. The attackers targeting mobile shoppers are targeting the population using default settings because that population is the largest and because the attacks that work against default settings are automated, scalable, and profitable at scale. The population that has implemented the settings described above is a smaller and less profitable target for automated attacks, which means the risk reduction from these changes is greater than the absolute security. Improvement would suggest you're not just slightly better protected, you're outside the target population that the most common attacks are optimized against. Make the changes before the next time you shop. The vulnerability that exists right now is a function of your current settings. The settings are changeable. Change them.